At 7 in the morning, a street in Tokyo is already busy, but not in the way you might expect. Office workers walk toward the station. An older woman sweeps the pavement outside her shop. A cyclist passes with a bag of groceries balanced on the handlebars. Nobody is holding a protein shaker. Nobody is checking a fitness tracker every 30 seconds. Nobody looks like they just survived a brutal workout before breakfast. And yet, Japan consistently reports one of the lowest adult obesity rates among high-income countries, suggesting that formal workouts are only one part of a much larger picture. So maybe the real story here isn't that Japanese women have discovered some secret method for burning fat. Maybe it's simpler and a little less exciting than that. Maybe they've just arranged the beginning of the day in a way that makes bad decisions less likely to happen in the first place. Belly fat is almost never created by one dramatic mistake. It builds slowly, through hundreds of small choices repeated for months, sometimes years, sleeping badly, sitting too long, starting the day already stressed and overstimulated, drinking calories without really noticing them, grabbing whatever food is closest because the morning felt too rushed to prepare anything better. You cannot choose where your body loses fat first, and no morning routine can target the stomach specifically, but these habits may make overall weight control easier over time by shaping how much you eat, how well you sleep, and how much you naturally move in a day. Today, we're looking at 5 morning principles inspired by aspects of Japanese daily life and food culture. This isn't a checklist that every Japanese woman follows every morning, and it isn't a hidden chemical trick either. It's simply 5 things that may make abdominal fat easier to manage over time because of what they quietly prevent. None of them burns fat instantly. None of them replaces a genuinely healthy diet. But together, they can shape your appetite, your sleep, your stress response, and how much you naturally move in a day. And those quiet forces often decide whether weight slowly rises or slowly falls. The first habit begins before breakfast, before coffee, and honestly before you've properly entered the outside world at all. Habit 1. See the real world before the digital one. For a lot of women, the very first thing they see each morning isn't sunlight. It's a notification. Before their feet even touch the floor, they already know what happened overnight, who needs a reply, what went wrong at work, and which stranger on the internet is upset about something. The body has been awake for 30 seconds, but the mind is already running at full speed, reacting before it's had a chance to actually wake up. In Japan, mornings aren't universally peaceful, and plenty of people check their phones just as fast as anyone else. But there's still something useful, hiding inside an old, almost boring idea. Begin the day with a few simple physical actions before you begin reacting to everyone else. Opening the curtains, folding the bedding, washing your face, preparing water or tea, stepping outside, even just to take out the rubbish. None of these actions look impressive, and that's exactly why they work. They create a short distance between waking up and responding to the demands of other people. You don't need to avoid your phone for 2 hours. You just need 10 or 15 minutes where the outside world isn't allowed to make demands yet. Open the curtains first. Stand near a window, or better, step outside and look at the actual sky before you look at a screen. This does 3 quiet things at once. It keeps you from starting the day already reacting to other people, It gets you moving instead of lying still scrolling, and it makes space for actual morning light, which helps the brain register that the day has truly begun. Morning light exposure supports the internal clock that shapes sleep and alertness, and a badly disrupted body clock can wreck both. And once sleep and appetite start falling apart, controlling weight becomes a much harder fight. Habit 2: drink something simple before something exciting. You may have heard that Japanese women drink warm water because it burns fat, flushes toxins, or kickstarts the metabolism. That story is appealing, but it's more magic than biology. Warm water doesn't travel straight to your waistline and dissolve anything. Lemon doesn't erase last night's dinner. Adding a pinch of salt doesn't turn plain water into a treatment. The real value is much quieter than that. Starting the day with water, unsweetened tea, or a light broth means the first thing you take in contains little or no sugar, and it creates a natural pause before coffee, sweet bottled drinks, or a large breakfast eaten too fast. Water, unsweetened tea, and miso soup are all simple examples that can appear around a Japanese-style morning meal. The temperature isn't the secret. The simplicity is. Compare that with a drink loaded with syrup, whipped cream, and sweetened milk, easily carrying several hundred calories before you've eaten anything at all. Both might get called coffee, but the body receives two completely different breakfasts. One a drink, the other closer to a dessert that happens to contain caffeine. Nobody gains stubborn belly fat from a single sweet coffee. But a sweet coffee bought every single morning can quietly add up to thousands of extra calories a month, especially since the brain rarely treats liquid calories the way it treats a full meal. So keep the coffee if you want it, but change the order. Start with water or unsweetened tea, notice how you actually feel, and only then decide whether you still want something sweeter. Habit 3: eat a breakfast that looks like food, not a reward. A traditional Japanese meal structure known as Ichiju Sansai can also appear at breakfast. It's built around rice, 1 soup, and 3 side dishes, usually a main protein like fish, egg, or tofu, alongside 2 smaller vegetable dishes. Not every Japanese woman eats this way every morning. Plenty of people are busy, plenty skip breakfast entirely, and plenty grab bread from a convenience store on the way to the station. Modern Japan isn't a museum where everyone follows an ancient script. But the underlying idea behind that meal structure is genuinely useful. Breakfast doesn't have to be sweet. In a lot of countries, the first meal of the day sits strangely close to dessert. Sweet cereal, sweet yogurt, sweet bread, pastries, fruit juice, flavored coffee. Then a few hours later, hunger comes back hard, and another snack appears. The Japanese-style alternative isn't necessarily lower in calories, but it tends to be more structured, built around a source of protein, a modest portion of starch, and something warm with real texture and volume. A breakfast built around eggs, fish, tofu, or plain yogurt can help some people feel satisfied longer than one built almost entirely from refined carbohydrates. That doesn't mean you need grilled salmon at 6 a.m. to see any benefit. The principle travels fine without the exact menu: eggs with vegetables, plain yogurt with nuts, tofu and rice, oats with seeds and a protein source, even leftovers from last night's dinner. Breakfast doesn't need permission to taste like lunch. The real habit isn't everyone must eat breakfast. It's this: if you do eat in the morning, make it an actual meal, And don't let the food industry convince you a pastry becomes healthy simply because you ate it before 9 o'clock. Habit 4, move before you call it exercise. Part of why Japanese daily life often looks quietly active has nothing to do with the gym. Walking to a train station, climbing stairs instead of waiting for an elevator, cycling to a shop, standing on a crowded train, carrying groceries home, sweeping the entrance, walking a child to school. That said, this isn't universal. Plenty of people in Japan don't get enough daily activity either. But where this kind of movement is present, it matters. Researchers at institutions like the Mayo Clinic have studied this exact phenomenon under the name NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, the energy your body burns through ordinary daily movement that never gets labeled as a workout. NEAT can be a meaningful part of your total daily energy use, and it varies a lot from person to person. In Japanese, a casual walk may simply be called sanbu, maybe to a train station, a small shrine, or the corner store, taken simply because it's part of getting somewhere, not because it counts toward a fitness goal. The benefit comes from the walking itself, not from the Japanese name or the destination. You don't need to become an athlete before breakfast. You need to stop treating movement as something that only counts when it hurts. A 20-minute walk, done 6 days a week, may genuinely add more to your life than a punishing workout you end up dreading and skipping within a month. And morning is a good time to start because the day hasn't invented its 10 excuses yet. This doesn't mean intense exercise is somehow bad. Strength training and faster cardio both matter, and they build things a slow walk simply can't. The problem shows up when people believe only hard exercise counts, so they spend 45 focused minutes exercising and then spend the remaining 16 waking hours sitting almost completely still. The body experiences the whole day, not just the workout squeezed into the corner of it. Habit 5, make the morning too easy to fail. Modern self-improvement culture often turns the morning into something closer to a military operation. Wake at 5, take a cold shower, write 3 pages, meditate, train, read, prepare a perfect breakfast, and somehow finish all of it before the sun has properly risen. That routine might work for someone with total control over their schedule, no children, no night shifts, and no unexpected chaos. For almost everyone else, it just becomes one more reason to feel like a failure before 9 a.m. The real strength behind many Japanese routines isn't intensity at all. It's repetition, an idea close to what's sometimes called kotsukotsu. The expression describes steady, persistent effort in general. It's not a formal health method or a named morning system, but it captures something useful here. Doing something small and steady, day after day, without needing a burst of motivation to justify it. Shoes stay by the entrance. The rice cooker gets prepped the night before. Tea is stored in the same spot every time. The route to the station rarely changes. None of these actions require much negotiation with yourself, and that's the entire point, because any habit that depends on motivation will eventually meet a morning when motivation simply doesn't show up. So don't plan the perfect morning, plan the minimum one. Put a glass beside the kettle tonight. Set your walking shoes somewhere you'll actually see them. Pick one simple breakfast you're willing to repeat without much thought. Leave your phone charging away from the bed. Choose a walking route that takes 10 minutes, not 1 hour. On a good day, you can always do more. On a hard day, you can still complete the minimum, and that's usually enough to keep the pattern alive. Weight isn't won or lost on the best day of the month. It's shaped by what happens on an ordinary Tuesday when you're tired, busy, and not feeling particularly inspired. A modest routine repeated for a year will usually outperform a heroic routine attempted for one dramatic week and then abandoned. These 5 habits don't work because warm water carries some hidden property the rest of the world somehow missed. And they don't work because of a special Japanese version of cortisol. Walking near a shrine doesn't burn more calories than walking near a supermarket. Where these habits are genuinely present in someone's daily life, the advantage probably comes from something far less mysterious. A lifestyle where ordinary movement is normal, meals are a little more structured, portions get noticed instead of inhaled, mornings begin with physical action instead of endless notifications, and habits are designed to survive being repeated without a daily argument with yourself. To be clear, these 5 habits alone can't explain a country's national obesity rate, overall diet, portion sizes, the food environment, transportation, and a long list of broader social factors. All matter far more than any single morning routine. Personally, I think this is where a lot of modern fitness culture gets the story backwards. We're taught to chase the hardest possible action because the hardest action feels like it must produce the biggest result. But most bodies aren't reshaped by one heroic hour. They're shaped by the other 23. A hard workout matters, but so does the walk to the shop. Calories matter, but so does whether breakfast actually satisfies you or leaves you hunting for sugar an hour later. Motivation matters, sure, but on the morning it disappears, the only thing left holding the routine together might be where you put your shoes the night before. But maybe that's too neat an explanation too. Maybe we're just doing what people always do with another culture's ordinary life, turning 10 boring habits into a philosophy because boring habits repeated for years is a much less satisfying video title than Japanese Secret. So here's the actual question. Do you think these habits genuinely work better because of something specific about how they're structured? Or would the exact same 5 habits work just as well no matter which country someone lives in? And out of all 5, which one do you think you'd actually keep doing past the first week? Tell me in the comments.